Welcome to Together We Rise.
Starring mother-daughter dynamic duo Alicia Schwartz
and Rochelle Schwartz
in collaboration with MAPS Global Events. Signing off.
Mwah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hey, how are you all? We are so excited for this evening. Together We Rise.
And we're not in Bali, although
we would like to be in Bali. No.
With Megan. I'm sure Megan loved to come to Bali with us. But we are so excited to be here.
I am Coach Rochelle Schwartz.
I am Coach Alicia Schwartz.
Wow. So we're mother-daughter dynamic duo.
And our podcast is really all about Together We Rise. It's really all about bringing people on to help those out there in the world that are struggling in whatever way, that we have people come on and just share their stories so that you can see that there's another way to get to the other side with any trials or tribulations that you're having in your life. And we have someone very special coming on tonight.
And we're so excited.
Yeah.
Really
when we found out I know when my mom mentioned it to me, I'm like, God, that's going to be such a great story to listen to her and how she's really gone through her journey. So we're going to do that in a minute.
Yes, we are.
And right now we're going to play our famous Amos
intro.
So Nim, bring it on. Nim? I don't know. Hello.
Hey, everyone. So now I have my studio glasses on to make myself look so smart.
Oh, that looks like I have a flower there. That's so weird. Ooh, what is that? That looks like that's so weird. Anyway, yes, we're here.
We are here, and we are going to introduce this magnificent woman who has the most incredible, beautiful story. And her name is Megan Evans. And so, Megan, come on down. You're very challenged with your directions.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Megan.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you.
We really are. So before we get into
your story
and nuts of the whole thing, what we usually do is we read something before just to set the tone. And sometimes at the end as well. So this is out of Debbie Ford's book, right here.
Yeah,
Your Holiness. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. There we go. It's so weird when you have this screen thing. Okay, anyway.
So this is what it says. It's called Holy Commitment. In this life and beyond, with every breath that I take, with every word I utter, with every choice I make, with every twinkle of my soul's light, I promise to share the never-ending shining love that I am with all beings everywhere forevermore. Just take that in and breathe it in and let it go right through your body. I just love it. And I just asked, what would I like to do for you tonight? And I just closed my eyes and that's what came up.
Beautiful.
So welcome. So, Megan,
Yes.
we would love, and the audiences I know would love to hear just, a little bit about you and your journey. So if you would like to share some of that, we would love to hear about it.
Okay. So I'm Megan Evans. I'm the founder and creator of the MS Stage and the MS Stage Method. It is a program for women around the world with MS on Zoom. And we do mindfulness practices and tools that I've created with music and meditation and dance and journaling and story prompts. So it is a really powerful program, and it uses tools that have helped me on my now 19-year journey with MS. I'm celebrating 19 years next week, actually.
Wow.
So, so it's been a long journey and lots of ups and downs, but I've always been a person who has followed what I believe in and not listen to what doctors told me that it was going to end, how I was going to end up, or what I was going to be, or and I'm doing, I'm a very positive thinker, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I bring all of that to the table with my teaching with the MS Stage. So it's been a long road. I was diagnosed at 24 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
24. And what were the symptoms and the signs for you that you were like, something is not right?
Hi, Diana Barnett.
Diana.
my dear friend. So my left side, it started in fact, I was living in New York City at the time, and I was in the process of my first move. I moved a lot of times between New York and LA, and it was my first move between New York and LA. And at 24, and I'd gotten a job offer to move, and I was excited about that. And I had lived in New York for almost 3 years. I was there on 9/11, 5 days. I moved there 5 days before 9/11.
Wow.
So I lost feeling in my left arm, like it kind of gave out one night. It was like 2 nights before I was leaving New York. And I thought, I'm just tired. I've been moving, I'm stressed out, I've been working all the time. So then the next day it went into it went from my arm. I started getting dizzy. I had some vertigo, and I was like, that's weird. So I got on the plane to go back to Charleston, where I'm from, Charleston, South Carolina, to get my car. And I went to go pick up my car. My mom and I were going to drive the car across the country because I had left the car there for 3 years thinking a car, and it was paid off. And I thought, well, if I ever need it, then I'll come get it. So I went to go get it, and we were going to drive across the country to get it out to LA. And I walked into my sister's house, and my left leg buckled, and I was like, something's really wrong. Like, it went from my arm to the dizziness to my left leg. And we immediately went to my GP, and he was like, well, you've either had a stroke, you have a brain tumor, or you have MS. Like, those were his thoughts. Oh, sorry, my dog's in the background.
Oh, that's okay. My dog's on the couch.
So he said, those were my options. So I said, well, I mean, if those are my options, I guess I'll take door number 3, right? And so he sent me to a neurologist to get to the bottom of it. And they did an MRI, and I only had 1 lesion at the time, which they have to diagnose. MS has to be diagnosed with more than 3 lesions, 3 or more. So they weren't prepared to say, yes, you definitely have MS. And the doctor, the neurologist, said to me, it's as if you've had a stroke, you'll likely end up in a wheelchair one day.
Oh, wow. How positive.
Wow.
And I looked at my mom and I said, no, I won't. And we walked out, and I was like, I'm never coming back to this man again. Not to mention, I mean, there's a much longer story of that. They lost my spinal tap results. So they put me through hell to get the spinal tap. Then they lost the results. Then I ended up in the hospital because I was in so much pain from the tap. And I was in the hospital for 5 days, and they had to give me 2 blood patches to get the pain under control, to like replace where they had taken the fluid out. So that was a really horrific experience. And it took me over a month. My new job in LA waited on me, and it took me over a month to recuperate and get mostly back to normal, but not all of it. Yeah. And I started immediately going to a homeopath and going the alternative medicine route.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So that's what I did right away. And then 6 months later, I got like my official diagnosis, because with only 1 lesion, they weren't willing to say you definitely have it. And then 6 months later, I went to a neurologist who said, well, you have striations on the MRI, which means likely it's MS. And so that was when I kind of knew it was more than, it was definitely MS. Yeah. So I was young to begin with that.
Yeah. And from when you'd started to do your homeopathic stuff and do all these
Different modalities.
did you feel that the symptoms were getting better or manageable, or
Yeah,
I'll ask you some questions too.
I definitely, looking back, I'll tell you this. I know for a fact, if I hadn't gone down the road I went down, I would be much worse than I am.
Yeah.
So, and I know that because doctors have told me that. Like Dr. Terry Walls, who's famous and in the MS world and literally got herself out of a tilt back wheelchair with her protocol. I have been a patient of hers for a short period of time, and when I walked into her office, she said, "Why are you here? Like, you're walking. Most people who I see are in walkers or wheelchairs." And now I do use a cane on occasion, but we're talking almost 20 years now.
Wow.
And she said, yeah, there's no doubt if I hadn't done what I did, that I'd be way worse off. And I went gluten-free 20 years ago. I mean, people back then were like, they didn't know what gluten even was.
Absolutely.
And luckily I had moved to LA. And so people in LA were a little more open, and I started going to an acupuncturist.
Yeah.
And so people were more conscious of diet and stuff like that. But there wasn't not that I eat a lot of packaged food, because I don't, but back then, there still wasn't a lot of packaged food, even options of gluten-free things on the shelves. It wasn't a fad.
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't on trend. So yeah, it was a journey, but I know for a fact if I hadn't done those things that I wouldn't. I mean, back then, I don't know if in the moment, did they help? Yeah, they probably got my inflammation under control. But I mean, there were times that I had major exacerbations where I had to take steroids.
Is it inherited at all? Do you know?
Yeah, it can be. It's not like for certain. Like one of the girls who's one of my students right now, her dad had MS pretty badly. And now she has it. But some people, like there's 2 women who are well known on Instagram. They're twins and they both have it. But it's really unusual. Because sometimes a twin will have it and then their twin won't have it, so sometimes one gets it and one doesn't. So it's really it's not necessarily, I have a second cousin who has it, but we're not really related, it's we're distant. And so I think that has nothing to do with my diagnosis. I was born with immune deficiency syndrome, which is what they called it back then. I had no immune system basically when I was born. Wow. And I would get gamma globulin injections in my legs starting at the age of 2 for 2 years, I think, to boost my immune system. We now know those injections also had mercury in them. So, but environmental, I think I probably lived in a moldy house at one point in my life. I think that, it's a combination of environmental toxins combined with who knows, I mean, my mom had mercury in food. My mom had mercury in her mercury fillings, back then. And so I was in her belly when she had mercury in her body, I mean, there's so many, there's no one thing, there's no one reason. But yeah, I think in all, if I didn't have the mindset that I have and I've had all along,
Yes.
I'd be way worse off. I never play the victim. I never, I definitely am against playing the victim. I'm all about empowering women. And yeah, it's all about your mindset, honestly. It's like, when people say they have cancer, right? And they play like the pity card or the victim,
Yes.
life is over, or the doctor told me I only have 6 months, and then they believe that, then they'll only have 6 months, right?
Right.
Like if they don't believe that and they don't let their cells hear that, because our cells are listening to everything.
That's so true.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, it was like, I didn't believe I would end up in a wheelchair. I was like, no.
And you're not.
And you're not. And your husband's very supportive.
Very supportive. He's amazing. We we met. It's so funny because we grew up. I'm from Charleston. He's from Charlotte, North Carolina. We met in LA, but we had both lived in Colorado and Jackson Hole in New York. And like, if we had met prior in our college year, we had mutual friends. Like, we knew some of the same people, but we had never met. I had never heard his name. So bizarre. But we met in LA, and I was like, if we had met sooner, we never would have gotten together. Like, maybe we would have been friends, but I don't think we actually dated. So the timing was everything. And his birthday is the day my grandmother died.
Wow.
So I know she sent him to me. And we knew right away. We got engaged within 5 months, and we met each other's families after 6 weeks, and our friends thought we were nuts. But I told him, literally, they thought we were crazy. I told him after 3 weeks, I was like, I have to tell him, because I was only 4 years into diagnosis at that point, but I knew I was falling in love. He was falling in love, and I was like, I got to be honest with him. Because I was like, if he's going to run, he better run now, because I don't want to get super hurt. Like, I knew if he had run then, I would have been devastated. But if he had run a year later, I really would have been devastated. So I went to, so I said, look, do your research. Let's see where we, I want you to decide, basically. I said to him, like, if you want to leave, like, because of MS, you better decide now, because
I don't blame you.
Devastated. And so he did his research. We went to my life coach at the time in LA. She had MS, and had it for like 18 years at that point, I think.
Wow.
I don't remember. She had it a long time, and she was doing really well and was not on drugs either. And so we went and talked to her and her husband. And then we went to a doctor too, and talked to the doctor, so I was like, do all your research. And then if you're going to freak out, then freak out. And then then we met his parents, and they loved me, and they said, Craig, if you love her, that's all that matters. We're going to support her no matter what. And, and so I think that was like the final thing that got him to say, yeah, I'm in love. So he finally, a few weeks later, he told me he loved me.
That's such a good story.
Yeah. So he's super supportive and loving, and
And it probably helps so much to have that person in your life, right?
That's
there to support you when you're not feeling great, and support you when you are feeling great, right?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. He says, because he has anxiety, has a history of anxiety. He also is sober 5 years, which is amazing, because
that's great.
He decided 5 years ago, realized that he was an alcoholic. And so he was like, we have like one good body combined. Like, he has a good body, I have a good brain. So he's like, we're good.
That's funny.
That is.
Yeah, he's a trip. He will make you laugh all day long. And that's the best medicine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He has me laugh every single day. He makes
that
me
is
laugh.
So huge.
Yeah.
I think that's the best medicine.
Yeah.
Belly laughs and love.
Yeah. So true.
And he does. He has me laughing every single day, no matter what. There's something funny happens. We laugh a lot.
That's so good. So, all right. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
What's the biggest, because you're kind of sharing all these amazing things
Oh.
about your MS journey so far. But here's a question. What's the biggest lesson you learned about yourself?
Through all of this?
Yeah, through all of it. At
Um,
this point in your journey. It's right. In 5 years from now, we could talk to you. It could be very different.
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is presence, being present. And resilience. You know, our bodies are really resilient, and I also believe in you know, the power of self-talk and the power of body positive, like speaking to ourselves and talking to our bodies. So I really, yeah, I've learned a lot in terms of knowing my body. And I pushed for so long. So during those first 14 years of diagnosis, I would never say I have MS. I would say I was diagnosed with MS because I didn't want to own the label. And I realized 5 years ago when I had my worst exacerbation ever that I had been resisting it, that I hadn't fully accepted it. And so it was with that, I did really deep work. I meditated intensely. I did therapy. It was right around the same time my husband got sober. So we did therapy together. Like there were so many things that we did to really do the deep work. And through that, I realized I had been resisting and I started. So then I turned into acceptance. And it was through acceptance that I really learned to be present, to stop pushing. And I think that comes with age too.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm just a much more calm person than I used to be. I feel like I was in constant fight or flight. And now I'm really like, I'm just a much calmer person in general. I'm not an angry person anymore. I'm just like a very chill person for the most part, you know, and nobody's perfect, obviously. But yeah, I think my biggest lesson has been just being present and learning what we do have, right? Celebrating what we do have and not what we don't have, and what we can't do versus what we can do.
Well, and also I think you said something really powerful is that when you resist something, it persists. So by you not owning that you have MS, so to speak, and saying, I'm diagnosed with MS, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And what's great in what you're saying is that once you took ownership that you had MS,
Yeah.
you accepted it, and there's nothing to fight against because
it was like true healing. It was true healing, and it opened up a world with community too, because then I was like, oh, all of a sudden women started reaching out like, oh my gosh, you were diagnosed, I was diagnosed. Can you give me tips? Like you've had it a lot longer than me. And so that sort of opened the door. And yeah, and also I got on an MS drug because I had refused for 14 years. And so I finally, you know, I had such a bad episode that my doctor like literally took me by the hand because I was so anti all neurologists too, because they were all jerks. Basically, every single one told me how I was gonna end up or what I was gonna do. And I moved so many times and I was successful in my career. I was a personal wardrobe stylist. I travel all the time, but it was like go. I was always on the go. And it wasn't until I finally was forced to stop that I literally took a year off and slowed down and finally, you know, got to the point of being like, okay, yes, this is real. I have this and I need to do something more about this. And I also believe, you know, I always believed I would cure myself. I always believed I could. And so I pushed to do that. I'd go to this doctor and be like, I'm going to go on his protocol full force. I'm going to do this and I'm going to spend all this money and go there. And it's going to be my cure. And I've got this. And oh my gosh, it's going to be perfect. And so none of that worked because it didn't make me worse. Well, sometimes it did make me worse because I have a hard time detoxing. And so my body, to push myself to detox heavy metals or something like that, sometimes would send me into an exacerbation. So it was like, I really have slowed down to the point where I really listen to my body. I ask my body every day, sometimes multiple times a day. It's like I muscle test myself with supplements. Like maybe this supplement, even though they're saying take it every day, maybe today I don't want it. My body may not need it today.
That's
So I
right.
really talk to my body a lot, and
Yeah.
thank the body for working for me.
It's almost like you stop the war within yourself,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that's the freedom.
Yep, absolutely.
And I also think like what you're saying too, Mom, is that when you finally surrendered, if you will, to something higher than you,
Mhm.
you know, you got what you needed, so to speak, right? You got, let's say, the drug you needed that you were resisting at the time, and that supported you, and just everything comes together when you surrender and you accept things. It just
Yeah.
funny how that works.
Yeah, and I thought I was, because I'm such a spiritual person, I thought I was surrendering all along until
I
until
understand. We
I
understand.
really did, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is a whole different level. Like because it was like I wouldn't meditate even. Like I fought meditation, which is so weird for somebody who's super spiritual. Not that I fought it, but I just didn't. I was like, oh, I don't need that. I don't need that. But it finally, when I started doing it, I was like, oh, right. Like this, I do that. And it's life-changing,
Yes, it is.
It is.
It certainly is. So, since we're on the conversation about God, if God could speak to you, what's the message he wants you to know?
That I was given this for a reason, that it's my gift, honestly, to the world. Like my story is my gift, and it's what I'm here to teach. It's what I'm here to do, to share, to empower others. And yeah, I'm a huge believer in that. Like I don't have children. We have 11 nieces and nephews, which is amazing. But
Wow.
not having my own children, I really a few years ago got to the point where I was like, as a personal wardrobe stylist, yes, I was doing intimate work with people in their closets and, body image and all those things. And there was something organic and very intimate about that and very creative. And I did love it during the years, over 10 years that I did it. But I just hit a wall where I was like, this doesn't feel as fulfilling to me anymore. Like I hit a point where it just didn't. And so I got to that point when I had my bad episode 5 years ago where I said, there's something deeper here. I want more. There's something else I'm meant to do in the world, and finding my true purpose. And what I'm doing is now what I feel is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a little kid in the background over there, your dog sitting there by the door.
Sorry. Well, my husband's not home, and so
I love it.
thought, I'll bring him in the room.
I have a dog, Chloe, that she's always with me, so I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I love seeing your dog back there too. But that's awesome.
He is my child, literally.
He is your
He's your
child.
child, that's for
He is.
sure.
And he's so good. You're just standing there like a good boy. So one other question for you: what's your biggest struggle? What was your biggest struggle in life, and how did you overcome it? Besides what you're sharing, what is there anything else inside that MS that, let's say, was your biggest struggle in life to overcome?
Well, the 5 years ago thing was what we talked about. That was, I think, what I put on the form, but
Yeah.
also my parents' divorce.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was two. And yeah.
Wow.
So, and I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I think it's still an issue for me, to be honest with you. I mean, not that it's an issue day to day, but it's something that did I overcome it? I overcame it at that age when I was younger by going into acting.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Because I started I started acting when I was like 4 or 5, and then started taking adult acting classes when I was 8. And I think that was like my escape, and my way of becoming someone else, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And living a different life for a short period of time and creating a character. So back then, I think that was my biggest struggle when I was young, other than health, obviously.
Yeah.
So are you close with either both your parents
Yeah,
today?
I'm close with both of them.
Yeah.
Close with both of them. But I am realizing now in my older age how much of an impact it had. I think back then I don't know if I fully knew, but I think now looking back, I'm like, oh wow, yeah. Trauma.
And it's two that you remember
Yeah.
at two. You know what I mean?
And the crazy thing is, it's like my very first memory is them sitting us down to tell us they were getting divorced. That's what's like, whoa.
That is,
Wow.
wow, 2 years old.
Yeah.
That's really.
That's a big imprint that they.
Big imprint.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But even then, you still used it by getting into like acting,
Yeah,
and
that was your
that
escape.
was your escape, so that you
Totally.
didn't fall down that rabbit hole of God knows what, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm a very old soul. Like I really believe that. And I'm super close to my grandma. Well, she's passed now, but my grandmother, we were super close too. And I think she played a huge role in helping with all of that as well. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, that was how I did it back then.
Yeah.
Do you ever connect with her?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Was she a funny lady too?
What?
Was she a funny lady?
Very funny. I have a picture of her right there drinking a martini. She's on my shelf. Yeah, and this whole room, the painting behind me she willed that to me and always told me she would. She gifted me my husband, I mean,
That's what Diana just said.
She got you.
I mean, she did. The day she passed was his birthday.
Wow.
And we had just met like 6 weeks before, and we were friends. We weren't dating yet, but we had just met, and I talked to him on that day. I mean, it was so crazy. The day she passed. So yeah, but oh yeah, I communicate with her a lot.
That's super. That's really cool.
A lot.
Yeah.
So you want to do
She
it?
appears to me. Sometimes I smell her show up. Like she's a cardinal. Like that's so a lot of times. So I've had cardinals. I had a cardinal once show up at my window and bang its beak on my window.
Wow. Because she wanted you to hear something.
Exactly. And I know what it was, but yeah, she's an incredible woman, and we're very tight still.
I bet.
Was she alive when you were obviously diagnosed with that? How did she get you through it?
She was devastated.
She was.
When I was diagnosed. Yeah, it really upset her. And she wanted me to. She loved New York. She did not like LA. She was like, I don't want you so far away and living in LA with all those fake people. She was like, but I really thought I would live in LA. Like I thought I would end up staying there forever. My husband dragged me back to New York, and I was like, if she was still alive, she'd be so happy that he dragged me back.
She probably guided him to bring you back to New York.
I know.
That's awesome.
Still, yeah.
So if you were going to want to give someone the best advice in life, what would it be?
So don't burn bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know who you're going to need, or, you don't want to have a bad rap because the world is small. It's really more like 2 degrees of separation, I think, especially.
Yeah.
Is it that now? Really?
Well, I don't know. I'm just making that up. I think it's more like 2 to 3 degrees of separation, because I feel like every time I turn around, I know somebody who knows somebody. And part of that is because I've lived a really big life too, and I've lived in a lot of different big cities.
That's probably why too. Yeah.
And so I think that's a huge part of it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it'd be, it's not smart to burn bridges. So I think that's a huge piece of advice that I give. And also to stop pushing and just be.
Yeah.
Like we're human beings, not doings, right? And
yeah. No, what I was going to say is that it's so interesting, because I was telling someone today, I'm like, you go to like Italy, and they shut down for hours, and they enjoy their food and the company and the experience. And here in the USA, it's work, 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 work. It's not enjoy and stop and smell the roses. It's so interesting how there's that thing that happens to people in the US of A.
Yeah, that's
No,
true.
it's my good friend. Actually, he just moved to Italy, and it's so funny because even today we were messaging, and he was like, "It's just Italian time." He's like, "I'm trying to adjust," because literally he showed up to like the trash company or whatever. He had to like sign up to get his trash removed. And like they're supposedly open on Wednesdays at whatever time in the morning. And he shows up and he's like, "Yep, they're just nobody's there." You know?
It's amazing.
So
It is
that's like
amazing.
it's Italian time, you know. And he's like, "Well, I'm getting my lessons, you know, because
Amazing.
yeah,
It is.
they literally like don't show up." I mean, it's crazy. And supposedly it's okay. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, how do
Yeah.
you get paid if you don't show up? I don't understand.
It's again, Kuna Matata.
Yeah.
Everything's,
Yep.
Right,
just hanging out.
right, exactly.
So the other question is, what advice would you give to your youngest self?
To my youngest self. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, don't be such a perfectionist. Like, go easy on yourself instead of hard on yourself, because it's never perfect. And a lot less stress would have happened if I had been a lot easier on myself along the way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm also a massage therapist as well for 26
Oh,
years.
okay.
So, in listening to your story and working with people for so long, and even obviously myself,
Mhm.
that the nervous system, I'm getting a whole nother thing around the nervous system
Mhm.
and how the nervous system is really a mind blower, and
Mhm.
how it could either, it's like if you have a calm nervous system, your body is calm.
Mhm.
If you have a
Exactly.
chaotic, go,
Right.
go, 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 can't stop, can't shut the mind off, your body's going to be exactly like that.
Mhm.
Even for me, too, I get into that place of anxiety or worry,
Yeah.
you have to do these things of meditation and finding that calm sense inside yourself and what you're saying and certain tools that you need to
Yeah.
use, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Outside nature, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a new practice now where we live 3 blocks from the beach, so I can't complain, but I have no excuse either not to go there every day to earth, to ground myself.
Yeah.
So my new thing is literally every day I go for 20 minutes and put my feet in the sand. And obviously not if it's pouring rain or something.
Right.
Yeah, on a nice day like today, I was there with the dog, and it was like it just takes 20 minutes, and it's such a life changer because you can literally just step outside in nature, which is so beautiful.
It really is. And that's just another thing I'm noticing, especially for myself in general. And you think of MS is a neurological,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. Hmm. Yeah, and it's super connected to the nervous system. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I was in fight or flight. I was a go, go, go all the time for so many years. I mean, my whole life. And look, nobody's perfect. Of course, I still have moments where I get stressed out or overwhelmed or whatever, but
Mhm.
I have learned to set boundaries,
Yep.
which is as of this year, I feel like this is like a totally new practice for me where I'm like, no, I'm going to go to the beach every day for 20 minutes. Like that is my joy time. And I'm going to shut off my phone at a certain time during the day, multiple times during the day. I shut off my phone so that I can get work done and not feel stressed because I'm getting phone calls or whatever. So yeah, the setting boundaries is huge.
Huge.
It's important. It's so important. And shutting off so you don't have, yeah. multiple phone calls, texts, whatever coming in. I mean, it's so important. And I've learned because I'm teaching now, because that's a lot of energy.
Yes.
Not only that I'm
Yes.
giving out, and you too, as coaches, you're giving out a lot of energy, a lot of intimate energy, but you're also exposed to a lot of energy. So you have to protect your energy, right?
Yes.
So it's really my time is sacred, and yeah, I've really learned to protect my time and my energy.
You know, another good thing I was just thinking about, a psychic told me this a long, I don't even know how long ago. Take kosher salt, you know, the coarse kosher salt, right? I have it in my shower. Take kosher salt. The people, if anyone can see this, they'd be like, woohoo! Take it, put it in your hands, right? Rub it, and then just douse your body in it and it just cleanses anything energetic that's you want to just.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. I've never heard that trick before.
It's a
I
great
have other tricks. Yeah, but that's a really good one. I mostly light a a lot of times I'll light a candle before my class, before I teach.
Yeah.
And I'll let it burn, and then I'll blow it out and throw it away, so that it's like that is sucking the energy from,
Yes.
from.
Yeah, and the kosher salt also.
Kosher salt is amazing.
Because I just got that in a meditation. So in the shower, I take the same thing and I rub it all over
after
my body.
my day, I just.
I love that.
So
Smart.
good.
Okay.
It really is. It's good. All these little tools.
Yeah,
I like it.
and the other thing is a pitch. I'm learning too. The pitchfork.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
The tuning
forks.
Tuning fork.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, my fascia woman. I have a fascia woman who's amazing, and she uses that on me, and I love it.
So good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you do that.
I need to buy one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon.
So here's another question for you. What did you enjoy the most about your childhood?
Performing. Yeah.
Was it singing or acting, or what was your?
Both. I mean, I would do musicals, dancing. College, I did a lot of dance in college and acting and but in college I got into choreography and directing theater. So that was, and really in a sense it's cool because it's kind of what I have pieces of that in what I do now, which is like I'm kind of the director of the program, right? And it's like an improvisational class in a sense. So we do different improv kind of exercises. I have an acting exercise from Uta Hagen that I've changed slightly that I use in my program. And so, yeah, it's cool. It's very
What kind of dancing do you do? What is it that you do?
So I do right now, I do a practice. Well, I created an exercise called Switch that I teach in my groups. And what we do is I choose a song and we switch different emotions. So we go from like anger to love, frustration to ease, resistance to acceptance. There's like compassion, there's all different emotions that I have them move those emotions with their symptoms. And it's all improvisational. So it's whatever comes to them, whatever comes up in their body. So it's similar to, I guess, somatic work. I'm not a trained somatic therapist.
Yes, it is. I can tell you I am. Yeah. So I can tell you.
Yeah. So it's like that. And I do a practice also as a student of Ishtara, which is a very somatic kind of based practice, but she created her own method, which is just like amazing, life-changing. And so I do a lot of that on my own at home too. And I do my switch exercise, which is what I teach because I want women to like go into the frustration and then switch it in the song to ease.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Diana's saying, tell us about the MS stage. Is that what you're talking about now?
Yeah. That's my program.
I gotcha.
That's so awesome.
It sounds fabulous.
It's one of the practices I do. Yeah.
They don't feel uncomfortable at the beginning or, to get up and do different of, stuff and dancing, anger, happy, sad, all of that.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, so in the beginning, the switch exercise in the beginning, I'm the only one watching all of them.
Okay.
So they have their eyes closed. They're doing it all together just as a warm-up exercise. And then eventually, like week 5 was this week. And that's when sometimes 4 is usually when I start them actually dancing and being witnessed by each other. So I choose a song for the individual women. But yeah, I give them a few weeks to warm up to each other before I just
Yeah, I would
Throw them in
think
the
so.
lion's den.
yeah,
Woohoo!
exactly. But it's also part of my process because they have to do this character exercise, which I was talking about, which I kind of adapted what Uta Hagen did, who's one of the acting greats. She was an incredible teacher. So I adapted one of her exercises and used that every week to determine sort of different pieces of their character. And then I lead them through meditations with music. And I'm a huge believer that music helps drive meditation deeper into the cells. And so my meditations are all very visualization based. And I take them on a journey. And the framework of the MS stage is based on The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. And so, so they're going on their own journey to their return. So the whole program is really getting them into their essence and their true selves and helping them find themselves again. And a lot of women get diagnosed with MS and they're lost. They're just, they don't know who they are anymore. They don't understand why this happened to them. And they need to kind of just reset and reboot. And so this is a very spiritual, it's everything. It's mind, body, spirit, honestly. The program is everything.
Amazing. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
it sounds
does.
amazing.
So the last question is, if you were able to change the world as it is today, what changes would you make and why?
Get rid of the news.
Yay!
How about get rid of all the government?
That too. Yeah. I mean, I would get rid of news. I think that would be my first thing. I think it's so toxic and it's like, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news for a long time. Occasionally I'll maybe read something, but my husband reads a lot. He doesn't watch the news, but he listens to podcasts and he reads a lot of stuff. So I'm like, he's kind of my news. And I'm like, I'm happy being oblivious. Like, I don't care. What's the point? Obviously certain things when I need to hear them, I'll hear them.
Yeah.
And I obviously have compassion, like for people in Turkey right now, the earth, I mean, it's
Yes,
horrible. It's not like
yes.
I'm totally oblivious. I don't know anything, but I just think it's just toxic. And that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are now going to let you become president. Enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, Marianne Williamson, God love her.
I love.
God love her for running for president. I mean,
I know.
Wow. I
What
mean,
a warrior.
Yeah, she
She's
was
a
too ahead of
warrior.
her time.
She's a
I
warrior.
don't know how she even had the energy to do what she did.
You know,
And
she's one of
so
those
impressive.
people. She's one of those people
Yeah.
that just has that
She's brilliant. She's
that
so
political
smart.
side of her.
Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
that political side.
Yeah.
She really, really
It's just
does.
in her.
And she gave it her all. I mean,
Oh
she
boy,
did.
did she ever.
God bless.
She really
She
did.
was- It was
Go,
just,
Marianne.
yeah, she was.
I know.
The world is not ready for her. The world really should be ready for her.
Yeah, they should. I mean, I wish they had just given her like a position somewhere.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
because I
agree.
wish she would have advised people really wisely.
Yeah.
But I think she was too out there for people to wrap their arms around. Like, what is
Yeah,
she?
she is.
Yeah, but would
She's
she make a
terrific.
huge shift.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
So, all right,
we are
Megan.
wrapping you up in a beautiful bow.
That was amazing.
With a bit and a heart.
And a heart and tons of kisses.
Oh, y'all are so kind. Thank
And
you.
so we love you and we so admire your tenacity
Your courage.
and courage
Your courage.
and your love, really. And it is, I think it's the first love of self
And I
that
also
really
think
is so important.
Did you say passion?
Your
Such
passion?
passion for
Yes.
your journey of health, really.
Thank
And-
you.
And beating the odds of what everyone else says on the outer world You don't have to believe the outer world. You can
Yeah.
believe your inner world. That's what I get from what you're saying,
Yes,
really.
totally.
Yes, absolutely. It's so true. I mean, no, you're your own best doctor. You know your body better than anybody. Nobody else lives in your body,
That's
right?
right.
Yes.
We are truly our own best doctors. And
Yes.
True.
Our body is a medicine cabinet.
It's our temple.
Yeah.
Temple.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what can I say? This
thank
went by
you,
so
right?
fast.
I mean,
It did go by fast.
It
we
did.
could talk
It was
forever.
So, oh God. All right, I'll call later and we'll continue.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bed. You guys
Yes,
really
this is
got
late
me.
for you.
I know it's late for
This is
you.
late for me. I know. I told
Thank
Rochelle, I was
you.
like, you're keeping me up. I mean,
I
at
know.
9:30, I'm usually passed out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a little
I
bit
know
of
this is
makeup
late,
on.
so we're gonna wrap it
So
up
we're
in a
going to wrap it
second.
up, and I'm just going to read something at the end, which is called
Okay.
Holy Inspiration.
I love it. Okay.
Uncork the limitless flow of heavenly wisdom. Let the divine influence pour forth from the depths of your soul. Let me drink the magical ambrosia of God's love as I am inspired to reach new heights. Amen.
Beautiful.
Amen. So
Amen, darling.
sleep with the angels.
Yes. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night's sleep. We thank you.
Oh,
We love you.
Thank you for
Enjoy.
having me. Y'all are so kind. Please stay in touch. I'd love
We
to.
course
will.
we will.
Well, we'll be calling you tomorrow morning.
Okay. Perfect. Bright and early.
Make sure you give your dog a big smooch. He's so
Yes.
good back there. He's so
He's the
sweet.
sweetest. I
He
know.
is. He's
Oh my
very
God.
good.
He's a good dog. I'll tell you what.
He's very good. He's 9 now,
Aw.
but he's a good boy. He's
So
Wow.
all your information is
Is
going
right there.
across the screen.
Yes,
Everybody
I
that
see
wants
that.
to
Thank
reach
you so
out.
much.
You have your program every
Yeah.
So I'm launching. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that. So I'm launching my next round in March. So they can go to my website, www.themsstage.com, and join my wait list to get in my next group. And they can also sign up for this 3-day meditation journey that I literally just launched. And it's on my website, and that's free. So they can kind of get a sense of what it's like to take turning your symptom into your superpower.
That's
So,
amazing.
It's
yeah. And
love
they
your
can follow me on Instagram at the MS stage too.
And we're so lucky to have you in the world. Thank you for
making
the
such a
work
big difference.
and taking your journey and trusting yourself.
Thank you, ladies, so much, and
Thank
I look
you.
forward to keeping in touch.
Absolutely.
will.
We will be right by your
Yes,
side.
we will.
Thank
We'll
you
be
for
there
having me.
supporting you.
You got it. Sleep
Happy
well.
meet. I
You-
will. You too. Mwah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.